I don't want to have to be like, here, come here. Let me hold your hand and get you through this.
You can think of the number
That's why
of
we got
people
systems
that we
and
had
procedures.
here, and then we were setting them up for advanced opportunities, and then they became very uncomfortable and ended up leaving because they couldn't walk in there.
Well, the point, because part of the piece was,
recently, we've been meeting with some corporations about joining their supply chains, providing our security services to their organizations. And they're well-known established brands that you might easily recognize driving down the street or walking around the neighborhood. And what struck me is that both organizations asked a very specific set of questions when it came to training. They wanted to know, how do we train our people? What type of career development opportunities do we offer? And what's the career path or career trajectory that someone could follow if they came to work for us as a security guard? So as a result, today we want to talk about management training, the habits of highly effective managers, and help you to understand that as you're bringing on new team members, or as you're developing people that are working with you, or even managing some of your vendors, what are some of the things that we've done that you might be able to employ? So can you think back to the first time you were responsible for leading a team of people before you owned a business?
nope. No, I didn't.
What about when you, I don't know.
Unless you want to count.
When you and Barry started the neighborhood business and you had the other,
it was the two of us and a couple of our friends that, we paid. Like, I guess we were leading the team, but I don't think that really count because we were like, just go do that. And they did.
Did you give them money?
Damn real, we gave them money. Like, that's when we figured out, like we don't have to be at the same place all the time to make money. And it was, I don't know. Yeah, I can't even remember what year it was. Like, I'm not even going to try and guess. But I think I told you the story before. I said the story before. We tried to get summer jobs one summer when we were like, I don't know, high school. Mm-hmm. And people were like, everywhere we went, they were like, you're overqualified. And I was like, how are we overqualified if we never had a job? What? Because we can like add and read and shit? Like, like I don't understand. We went to all kind of fast food restaurants. Now you can't work here, you're overqualified. I was like, how am I overqualified? So we just said, whatever. So one neighbor was like, oh, can you come move this stuff out my yard, Miss Henry? And we moved it. There's a long story behind Miss Henry. Everybody was scared of her. But she was like, come in my house and do this stuff in my backyard. Clean this and move this. And we did it. And I think she gave us like $50 each. And we were there for like, I don't know, an hour and a half or something like that, if that. And we were just like, okay, thanks. And then she told somebody else. And it was like, can you come move this stuff out my yard and clean this? And we did it. And then we put an ad in the newspaper. And then we just started doing it, driving around doing it. And then one day I was like, yeah, I got to go to the dentist appointment. And Barry was like, yeah, no worries. I'll get Jeff and one of the other friends to come help us. And then he did the job. I came back from the dentist and Barry handed me some money. I was like, what? I didn't work today. Like, he was like, no, neither did I. He was like, Jeff did it. So I paid him some and we'll split the rest. And then we just looked at each other. And then from there, we just started, hey, you want to work with us? And we give people a piece of the money. And then we just booked more jobs. So I get, if you want to count that, yeah.
I definitely count that. So part of the epiphany was realizing that you couldn't be everywhere all the time. And if you wanted to grow your business, albeit a small emerging business, that you need to be able to trust other people to do the work for you.
True.
And that you all were probably better in going out and getting a business than actually doing the work because you had to go to the dentist.
It depends though, because some of our friends were, a little rough. We really didn't want them to be client facing, but it was, we were teenagers. We were figuring it out. But, a lot of what we did and what we observed and learned, it translates into what we do today. Mm-hmm. And the lessons still carry over and it's still some of the same experiences. You're dealing with people. Mm-hmm. Like it's a luck of the draw. That's all I can say. It's a luck of the draw. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about someone, advancing on the team, becoming a manager or a leader. Yeah, there are certain things we look for. There are certain qualities. Could I just say here and say, they have to meet this checklist or this criteria? There are some things, yeah, but overall, I'm just like, is the person in the right place at the right time? I don't think people realize how much, especially in a small, medium size business, the timing is so important. Like happens, and you just look at one of our accounts where it's four guards who work there plus one supervisor, and then the supervisor on one account flaked the out on me. And then I was just like, what do we do? You can't leave it vacant. You got to do stuff's got to get done in that supervisory role. And then there was a guard there who always came to work on time, who always did what they do. They always called me when they didn't even have to report stuff that was going on the sites. It was like, I just want you to be aware. And then I was just like, you know what? Today's your day. I called them and was like, would you be interested in being a supervisor? And they was like, yeah, I think I can do it. I see what the supervisors do here. I think I can handle that. And I was like, good. So what we'll do day after tomorrow, you'll work this, you'll train with one of the other managers, see how you like it, see if you can handle it, and then do it. I don't know, what was that, 5 months, 6 months ago, maybe
Thereabouts,
longer?
yes.
And the person is a supervisor today, managing that location. And I have zero headaches when they're working, when they're on shift. They keep me updated, they call me, and I can name numerous team members that has happened with. Yeah. I mean, it's what you do, the impression you set, but it's also timing. And then being willing to step up. There's other team members here who've done the same thing. Things have changed in dynamics, and they were like, listen, I think we need to have some type of leadership management role in this capacity. Pitched us the idea, went through, the pros and cons of why having someone and not having someone, what they would bring to the table, how they would do it. And then we were like, okay, do it. And it's worked out.
Great. Well, I can think
so roll the dice.
I can roll the dice. I can think of a time when I was, my first internship was with the ground crew, Missy Audrey Smalls. And even though I was like 14 with a big puff afro, wearing short shorts, we would go and we would dress models at fashion shows, but it was more involved because we did production elements as well. And so in my capacity as an intern, I helped to lay out the outfits and in essence, lead the other dressers. That's what we did. We dressed the models. And so, assign one dresser here, assign one dresser there, help Missy Audrey in making sure everybody was where they're supposed to be, have my model dressed and then make sure everybody else's models were dressed and then lined up. And then at the end of the show, Missy Audrey would ask me to help her count the money and make sure everybody got paid. So you talk about trust. You have to be able to identify people you can trust, whether it's with your time, your resources, your money, or with your business, because your business is like your baby. And then you talk about willingness to step up.
So how do you identify people for a potential management role?
Well, it's twofold. So we were having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and we're like, people lie on their resumes.
Oh, yes.
Like, don't get got by the resume, because people will put...
They lie on the application, too.
We'll put lots of fancy things on the application and on the resume, but when it comes to how they execute, they can't always execute what they say they can, nor do they always execute to the way that you want it done. And so when you're trying to evaluate someone's capacity to grow within your organization, some of the things you have to look at is how have they performed when it comes to tasks that you've given them in the past. So the example that you gave, you knew that officer went to work. You knew that he had...
Just got another contract. Damn, I'm good.
He had worked for the firm for a while. And so we were able to evaluate him based on the body of work that he had. Now, it's a little bit harder if it's somebody who's newer to the organization, but they could always let us know, give us examples of what they've done in previous employers, or not even just in employment opportunities, but what they've done in volunteering and what they've done in their personal lives that demonstrate leadership, demonstrate capacity to follow directions, demonstrate the ability to execute and get things done. And so like even in an interview process, I like to look for people that respond in the STAR method. And STAR stands for situation, task, action, and results. So if I ask you a question and you can give me a very specific example of something that happened, what was the challenge, how you dealt with it, and what was the outcome, that gives me insight above and beyond what I see you do. So okay. A combination of how they explain their past performance as well as what we see helps us to identify people that have the potential for growth and to be leaders within our organization.
So you identify people with potential leadership using the STAR method?
The STAR method in interviews, and then based on performance,
Okay.
if they're working with us. And then also you said timing. Timing is everything. Do they show up, right? Do I have to beg, borrow, and plead for them to get things done? Or do they have a sense of where they need to be and when they need to be there? Because those are the people, even if they make a mistake, there's a lot to be said for just showing up.
Yeah. I don't use the STAR method. Have no idea what it is.
Situation, task, action, and results.
I mean, it sounds like fire, like awesome. I'm just looking at, are you there? Are you getting done? Are you helping us win? And then the opportunity comes, I'm going to put you in a role if you want to do it. I'm going to tap you on your shoulder and be like, listen, this is available. You want it, you're in. Because you've done this in the past. And at the end of the day, listen, I get it. And I'm all for checking those boxes and having all these procedures and different routines. I think systems are great. We're rebuilding some systems now at some of our locations. We're definitely rebuilding a new system at the Soapbox as we get ready to launch this new platform.
And I know you're really excited about it.
You have no idea, because right now we're losing money waiting for this launch, because I have to hold back on hiring new team members because of this, because we need to map it out. So if we don't have more team members out pulling in orders, we reducing the amount of revenue we can pull in. But I'm just like, I'm a huge proponent. I'm a huge fan of, there's somebody already on the team executing, tap them on their shoulder and be like, listen, it's game time. You ready for this? Because they've already proven themselves. And in a small business, it's so easy for someone to do it. And I think people forget, you're in a small, mid-sized, I don't even give a you're in a big business. Somebody's always watching. And we all forget that. And that goes for for someone in a management role, as well as someone who's looking to get into a management role. And then that's all the way up to someone who's the damn CEO of the company. Somebody's always watching.
Shout out to Hamsah Nasirildeen, who is a rookie on the New York Jets and also happens to be my little cousin, because he got drafted very low and on the depth chart. And if you follow football, you know the importance of the depth chart. He's in the first position, most likely to start at weak side linebacker for the Jets this season. But the reason I bring him up is because if you are working for someone, if you don't own your own business, if you're trying to get into leadership, what you do on the field speaks volumes for where you will go. Like I mentioned, he wasn't drafted high. He's a rookie. He is crushing competition from veteran players because he proves himself when he gets on the field. And in the
just make them say your name.
Exactly.
That's my new. Make them say your name. When he was playing in the game,
they just played the Giants the other week,
right? In the preseason game, keep doing what you got to do on the field to make the announcers say your name, because then sooner or later another announcer is going to be like, you're mispronouncing his name. It's this, and then your name becomes top, right? Then you heard the announcer say, oh well, whatever, because they converted people from DBs to whatever position they were talking about. I missed kind of part of it in the conversation.
All I know is that he forced a fumble on the Giants 10 on the 10-yard line. The Jets recovered, and at the end the Jets won the game. Right. You say make them say your name. And if you have a business and you have people on your team, look and see what they're doing. You don't want to miss that person that's turning the tide of the game in your favor.
Well, it goes both ways.
Because if you have a good player on your team and you don't pay attention to what they are doing and how they help your team, you're going to lose that player. That player will either become disengaged. That player will go to another team.
They're going to become a free agent.
They become a free agent. They're going to take their talents to South Beach. So look and see who you have on your team. Who are the top performers? Those are the people you need to look at putting in leadership positions. Yes, no?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's be clear. Maybe not put them in leadership positions. You need to have the conversation with them. And that's one thing that I see happens in the security industry a lot. And it's a classic mistake. And it probably
happens in the laundry industry too. You have somebody that's a good attendant and then they make them store manager.
Yeah, I know a couple stores like that. So what happens is, due to a lack of people on the team or the hiring pool, whatever it is, someone in a management position will see a team member who comes to work. They wear their uniform. They do what they're supposed to do, at their position, et cetera, et cetera. And because they need someone to be in this management/leadership role, they immediately choose this person because they come to work on time and they execute what they're supposed to be doing. Just because they're doing good in that role doesn't mean that they'll be good in a management/leadership position.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying you shouldn't give that person a shot, but you should have a real conversation with them about, listen, because what's going to happen is 9 times out of 10, and these are Cope stats I'm making up, don't Google them, don't look for them to be in some whatever place, but I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, you're going to approach the person about taking this position, and they're going to say yes, because they're thinking about how much more income they're going to get by taking this position. They're not in the immediate moment going to weigh all the pros and cons. Like, well, what additional responsibility? Most of the time, the first question they ask you when you ask them about this new position is, do I get paid more? I hear it all the time. And in my head, I'm like, well, obviously you're going to get paid more because you're taking on more responsibility. You're taking on a different role that has other responsibilities that go along with it. But the real question that you should be asking is, what else do I have to do? How does this affect what I'm doing now? Is this something I do in conjunction with the position I'm doing now? Is this going to be a totally new position, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? How am I going to be measured on my performance in this new position? Who am I responsible for reporting to in this new position? Who am I overseeing in this management position? Is it going to be people that I'm currently working with?
Right.
Or are you going to send me to a different location or a different department to manage those people?
Right.
Because I might not want to manage the people that I've been working with all along, because I know some of my coworkers is back crazy and I don't want to be their manager.
Right.
Because
and they're not going to be respectful either.
Right. Or I f***ed up and got too friendly with them and didn't keep it professional.
Right.
So now when I transition into this management position, they're going to be like, yeah, whatever, Coach, you're not going to write me up, bro. Don't worry. I'm eating an egg and cheese while I'm on duty. You know I'm not supposed to be eating that while I'm folding laundry or while I'm at the front desk.
Right.
At this high-end building on Park Avenue that we do concierge security work for. Don't worry about it. I'm going to keep it on the side, but I'm going to sneak in and eat it. Like, you're not going to write me up.
Right. I'm not talking on my phone. I'm on, you used to watch whatever on your phone too. How you going?
Right. You used to show up with no socks on.
Right.
Right. Why are you writing me up for it?
Right. When we think about what people are aspiring to do within your business or within your industry, make sure that you ask them and engage them and point to examples of where they can go. Because what I find is often in interview situations, and you say, oh, well, why are you looking for this job? Oh, because I'm looking for growth. Well, what does growth look like? Growth. Well, no, growth for you might be different from me. I might be talking about my hair getting longer, and if my hair doesn't grow, I'm gonna go get a sew-in. So, like, if you are the person that's going to your work, to the people you work with and trying to advocate for advancement, you have to understand what that means for you and then to explain it. And if you don't know how to explain it because you haven't seen it, then ask your supervisor what opportunities are there. And then once you're able to know those things, look at those opportunities and see where you might be a good fit. So it works both ways. It's not just incumbent on the business owner to identify talent. Talent has to raise.
Well, I'll give you a better one. How many times have you had over the past 12 plus years have someone talk to you about a position or whatever they're doing at that moment? And they talk about, I want more responsibility, I want growth.
Right.
And you go back to them with the question, what do you want to do here? Tell me what would be the ideal position. What duties you want to take on? What do you want to do in whatever role you're saying you want to do more?
Right.
And then they be like, I don't know.
Right.
Or they just kind of be like, well, I just want to do more stuff. If like someone has just laid out to you a silver platter and said to you, your manager, like the owner of the business, whoever says to you, all right, you want more growth, you want more responsibility. Tell me what you want to do. That is your moment to be like, okay, maybe you don't know in that exact moment. You know what you do? You say, can I get back to you on that?
Right.
Let me go back and put something together and come back to you. And I would just lay out a master plan and show how I'm going to add value. These are the things I'm going to do. These are the things I want to be responsible for. I get to basically pick and choose what I want. Clearly, some of the has to be in there that I'm like not the top that I love to do, but it comes along with what I'm going to do. But then I get all this other stuff that I enjoy doing, I love to do, that I can put into this position or whatever these roles of responsibility are saying, what do you want to do here?
Right.
Like, I've had that question. I've posed that question numerous times,
right.
and they're just like,
And in situations like that, where we have people who are already on the team and they don't know, what I try to do is expose them to what's happening at our client sites or at prospective client sites. So I'll either take that person out on field visits with me, introduce them to clients, and help them see what the potentials look like. And often what happens is people aren't ready. They see themselves as the grasshoppers as opposed to the giants that they are, and they become uncomfortable.
But they don't even have to be ready. Like, I don't have a problem with somebody who's not ready.
I get it.
But they want to do something. I'm just like, tell me what. So I can help you do it, because I don't want to be a manager. I want to help you grow. Leader, manager, whatever we want to call it. I want good people on the team. We talked about this in other episodes. Find good people. This is what we need to do. This is the framework. Now let's go execute it.
Well,
I don't want to have to be like, here, come here. Let me hold your hand and get you through this.
You can think of the number
That's why
of
we got
people
systems
that we
and
have
procedures
here, and then we were setting them up for advanced opportunities, and then they became very uncomfortable and ended up leaving because they couldn't walk in there.
Well, the point, because part of the piece was when we were setting them up to have to be in these positions for additional responsibility, right? Obviously, additional income comes along with the responsibilities,
No
right?
doubt.
Let's just absolutely be clear about that. We're not running a sweatshop where I'm asking people to do a whole bunch of and they're not getting paid more. But let's be clear. If you're not executing on what you already have, don't have the audacity to ask me for more. Because if I say, hey, Espinoza, your job is to take 2 sheets of paper every 15 minutes and staple them together. So at the end of the day, we have 1,000 sheets stapled together so we can hand these packets out and get people to make orders at the soapbox. And every day when I talk to him, he's just like, well, only got 325 done. I got 375 done. Well, yesterday I got 175 done because I got this paper cut and then the stapler jammed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then 2 weeks later, he asked me, Coach, can I get a raise? I think I should get more money. Bro, you haven't met your quota now one time and you ask me for more money? So they didn't succeed for whatever reasons, and I'm not saying the blame is on them, because part of the blame is on us, because we gave them the opportunity and they weren't ready. And I just finished telling Mr. James this. Shout out to Mr. James, new operation team member here at JSB. I don't know where we found this guy. He's hilarious, but he's always in the game. He's got his head on and he's crushing it. Every time he's got me laughing about something. And I have no idea what I was going to say now. I totally lost my train of thought.
If you're not meeting your quota, don't ask for more.
I used Espinoza's example, then I threw Mr. James in. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
I'll say this. When it comes to leadership and advanced opportunities, we demonstrate to people what it is we want to see. So we stay reading books, we stay engaging other people, we stay taking classes, whether they're online, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's in person. We have mentors and coaches too. And so we make those recommendations to people on our team. Oh, did you read this book? Oh, get the audio book. Oh, grab the book that's on the shelf over there. Like, we're not.
How many free Financial Times have piled up in this office for people to read and they're collecting dust?
So you can demonstrate to your team members what leadership looks like as you prepare them to grow within your business. Because that's some of the things that we do. We're getting short on time, so I want to give you quick quotes unless you want to jump in with something else.
Well, we did have one. We
one
talked about
question?
questions from Commerce and Chill on Instagram and the stories.
What's the one other question?
We had another one come in and they asked, what people do you follow in the business world? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm probably going to just totally screw this all up and not screw it up, but probably go against probably what people think or expect to be said is I follow, and you can go look at my IG, you can go look at like LinkedIn. I follow regular people. When I say regular, I'm talking about in the business ecosystem that we're in. And I have a different mindset on it. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with
just say who it is.
With following them.
Are you trying to buy some time so you can remember?
No, I'm not even trying to remember. I first of all, I follow everybody in this room, right? And if you look at my IG profile, there's not a whole bunch of people that I follow or whatever term we want to use for social or in their community that have like hundreds of thousands of followers or these celebrities or these business, and it's for a particular reason. And we talked about this before. People are too busy looking, and I'm not saying you can't look to these people for inspiration or get tips and ideas from, but people are too busy looking at somebody else
and making them deities
who's on chapter 33 of their life or their business, and you're on chapter 12. And you're comparing what they're doing to where you are and where you want. And I'm not saying you can't use them as like, that's my goal to do this and do that. But they're looking at stuff that they say and do, and then they're like, okay, I need to do that. Let's be absolutely clear. There's very few things, we're talking business-wise, that Warren Buffett can say about business that I can do in my business. Because his Berkshire Hathaway is at a totally different place than the soapbox in JSB. Now, he might say some things that I could look at and boil down and say, I could apply that. But the overall arching philosophy and things of that nature, like, it's totally different. So we get caught up in looking at these individuals, especially in business owners. They're following this one. They're following that one. They follow this one. And this one says you should do this to grow your business. And then this one says, I do this to grow my business. Well, let's be clear. If you're doing this to grow your business and you're in a stock exchange, you have a different metrics. You're following different parameters than someone who's running a business and they got to make payroll at the end of the week or at the end of the bi-weekly cycle, whatever it is. Because they're on the stock market. They're pandering to the quarter. They're running their business based on what shareholders and the board of directors are saying. You better be running your business based on what your bills and your expenses are saying, and your employees, your clients, your vendors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I tend to look at who are people who are kind of in the same ecosystem as us and slightly outside of that ecosystem business-wise. Like, okay, so if let's just make say a dollar amount ecosystem. So if I'm looking at people who are in the $5 million ecosystem of businesses, then there's another ecosystem of people in businesses that are 100,000, right? Plenty of those in small business. And then there might be another ecosystem. I'm like, these are people, $20 million. So I'm looking at all three of those. And then there's some here in this ecosystem who want to start. That's who I'm following in business because I learn a lot more from someone who's growing a business in the same place as me or right above or maybe even slightly below. And I look at what they're doing on Insta or LinkedIn and stuff, and I'm like, that makes sense. That shit moved the needle on their business. What Shake Shack is doing on Instagram is not going to be the same thing that moves the needle. And no disrespect to Shake Shack, it's not going to be it's not going to be the same thing that moves the needle in my business or one of my colleagues. So I'm following those who are similar to us and those who are in the next ecosystem the next level that we want to go to. I'm looking at who's in the floor above me. If I'm on the second floor, I want to go to the third floor. I'm gonna look up and be like, who's on the third floor? What did they do to get there? And what are they doing? Right. And then when I get to the third floor, I'm gonna look at the fourth floor. I'm not trying to look at the penthouse right now. The penthouse might be on my, what do they call it, vision board or my goals. Yeah, that's my ultimate goal. But I need to go up one floor at a time. Or if the elevator allows me, maybe I could skip a floor. That's what I'm focused on.
Okay, well,
that's who I'm following.
I'll just add this. My IG profile got deleted
because you were pretending to be yourself.
I was pretending to be myself.
Your IG got shut down for impersonating yourself.
Following, I can't remember, but the people that you talk about that are more in line with where we are, I consider those people that I follow friends in my head, like the Lauren Mylans, like the Sherelle Dorsey, like the T Brown Duckets, even though she's a real boss at TIAA. Who else? Like Morgan DeBond.
It's nothing wrong with it. I'm just like you to me, you got to take it. You got to keep it in perspective.